Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Avleen and I am your economics teacher on Study Room. In our today's class, we are going to discuss our third chapter of economics, class 10th, which is money and credit. So let's get started, but before getting started, let me tell you that in this chapter, we are basically going to focus on all the forms of money that has been there till now, from the ancient generation to the Z generation, which is also known as 21st generation. So to make that concept a bit easy for you, the first thing that I have is a small video which will give all of you an idea as to how money was taken place, how actual money came into place, and what was there when there was no money. So with this, let's get started with the first thing, which is our video. All of you have watched this video and I hope all of you have observed few things. So let's just start by discussing few things that all of us have seen in this video. The first thing that we have seen was the medium of exchange. So in earlier, what used to happen is when there was no money like we used to have today. So that time what used to happen is that they used to exchange their goods and services in order to get their work done. So let me first give you an example of how the barter system used to happen. So barter system is when person used to exchange their goods and services in order to get their need or what they want. So for example, we have person A over here who needs rice and person B over here who needs say wheat. Okay, so what will happen is that since person A needs rice and B is already having rice, and person B needs wheat and A is already having rice, they'll just directly swap their products with each other and both of the want of both of the person will be fulfilled. This is one scenario. Second scenario is when there is a limitation that used to came when under the system barter system, which is also known as double coincidence of want. Double coincidence of want is something that is portrayed over here. So this is a very important example. Over here you can see that there is one person who is saying that I will give you shoes but I need wheat in return. Second person who has wheat says that I don't need shoes, I need clothes. Third person who has clothes says that I want shoes but I don't have wheat. So over here this person needs something that other person is having, but the other person doesn't need the good that he is offering. Likewise with these two and likewise with these two. So this is what we call double coincidence of want. Over here, in order to solve these scenarios, basically money came in power. So when money was there, nobody can say no to money, right? So if the one who's having shoes want wheat, so he can earn from his work and he can offer money to the other person who has wheat and he can take wheat in return. So money holds that power that anybody can use that power in order to get their want, in order to get their need satisfied. So money was very important when these kind of limitations occurred in barter system. Now moving forward, we are having few questions. So the first question is, how does the use of money makes it easier to exchange things? So basically the first and the most important point is that it solves the problem of double coincidence of want. So it solves, I'm sorry, the spelling is wrong. It solves the problem of double coincidence of wants. Okay. The second was that money holds value. So money was having that power, so it holds value. The third point that we can say is that it was said to be a measuring unit for everyone. So basically people can use money in order to get their things done. So these are 3 points which basically denotes that how money made it easier in order to exchange things and also in order to get our need and wants satisfied. Now, the second question that we have over here is, can you think of some examples of goods and services being exchanged or wages being paid through barter? So barter, as we all know, means the exchange of goods and services. Now over here we have to tell certain examples. So I would say one of the most seen example would be when laborers used to work on the construction site for their landlords. So generally, instead of being paid in the form of monetary funds, what they used to do is they were provided with food for their family. They were provided with sometimes wheat, sometimes a bajra, things like that, proper food or grains. And also in the government side, when during some or the other thing is happening, so that time also the laborers were often paid with some or the other goods instead of being paid in the monetary funds. So these are few examples of the rural and urban area where we actually offer still date barter system instead of offering money, which is mostly prevalent in village areas. Moving forward, modern forms of money. Since very early ages, Indians used grains and cattle as money. So grains and cattle over here represents barter system. Then came the use of metallic coins. Now you can see that money, the coins and paper notes will also soon start coming in your chapter. So over here we have metallic coins. So people have by now, in this particular point it says that people have started using coins. So there were of Akbar dynasty, then there is Gupta dynasty, there Tughlaq dynasty, and the modern coins. So this is something that all of us has seen, which are used till now. Now currency. In India, the Reserve Bank of India issues currency notes on behalf of the central government. The law legalizes the use of the rupee as a medium of exchange. So over here, the importance of RBI is denoted. RBI is Reserve Bank of India. So when it comes to money, nobody has the legal authority to print notes, to issue money. Only RBI can issue money, and only that is legalized by the government of India. So rupee, the money that we use in India, this is something that can be used as a medium of exchange all over India, not in USA. In US, as we all know, dollars are used. In some other countries, pawns are used. So in China, Japan, won is the name of the currency. But in India, we use rupee as a medium of exchange. So the medium of exchange, which is our money, the currency, this is only and only be legally authorized by RBI, which is Reserve Bank of India. Moving forward, deposits with bank. People deposit extra cash with banks by opening a bank account. Banks pays an interest on this amount. Deposits in the bank accounts can be withdrawn on demand, so they are called demand deposit. Over here we can overlook two things. First is what is demand deposit, and second is the new form of money. So the new form of money that we are overlooking over here is virtual money. In virtual money, what we do is we basically put all the money, all of our savings in the bank by opening a bank account, and then bank starts paying us interest on the money that we have deposited with them. So we get money not in the form of cash, we get it on our bank account, which is the numerical value that we see. And anytime when we want money, what we can do is we can directly go to bank and we can withdraw the money in the form of cash. So this is what we known as demand deposit, where we can demand our deposit back whenever we want us, and they'll be paying us in cash, like they'll be giving the money to us in the form of cash, which we can later on use for exchange. For example, we want a commodity, we want a service, so we can exchange money that we just has withdrawn from the bank account. Moving forward, checks. So checks, a check instructs the bank to pay a specific amount from the payer's account to the pay. It enables payments without the use of cash. So over here we have been told what a cash is and how a cash is used. Cash will basically be a virtual form of money, as we discussed, and for example, I am the payer and let it be A who is my pay. So pay is the one to whom I will be paying the money. So as soon as I'll deposit a check with the name of the payee written on the check, what will happen is the money will not be given to that person in the form of physical money. Instead, the monetary fund that is there in my bank account will show a decrease, and the monetary number of fund from the, for say I have taken the pay to be A. So in his bank account, the monetary number will increase automatically. So this is how bank transactions work. On this check which is over here, pay, and there is one name written. This is the name of the pay to whom the check is being addressed to. So the amount is being paid to this particular person of 37,000 rupees. Over here we also write the date, as on which date we are paying, and over here we also do sign in order to make sure this gives a bank you can say sign that yes, this is us, we are the one who is issuing that check and there is no fraud that is going on. Moving forward, we have question number 1. Mr. Salim wants to withdraw 20,000 in cash for making payment. How would he write a check to withdraw money? So Mr. Salim wants to withdraw 20,000 in cash. So as we discussed, I don't think there should be any problem that this is a point that we have already discussed, that we can anytime withdraw the money from our bank, and they'll be providing us the money in the form of cash, and later on we can use it in order to satisfy whatever want or commodity we need. So over here where it is written pay, there the name will be written in rupee, the amount will be written, and over here the amount will be written in numerical. Over here the amount will be written in words. Then we also have to mention the date. Then there is the bank account number. Over here we have to make sure that we are signing. If you will not sign the check, it will be considered to be a cancel. The bank will not accept that check. Moving forward, Salim uses a check to pay Prem. So over here, Salim is using a check to pay Prem. So Prem is the payee, Salim is the payer. Okay. After the transaction, Salim's account balance increases and Prem's balance increases. So since Salim uses a check to pay Prem, so Salim account balance will decrease and Prem's account balance will increase. So this is the incorrect statement. Salim's balance decrease because he is the one who is paying, and Prem's balance will increase. Okay, this is the correct statement, but let's see this one also. Salim's balance will increase and Prem's balance will decrease. Again incorrect. So this is the one that is a correct statement. So moving forward towards the last question of our today's class, which is, why are demand deposits considered as money? So demand deposits are considered to be a form of money because you can withdraw it anytime you want, anytime you demand the money. You can directly go to bank and you can withdraw it, and they'll be giving you the money that how much amount you ask for in the form of cash, and that cash you can later on use in order to fulfill your needs and wants. So this is the main reason why demand deposits is considered to be the form of money, but virtual. So I hope everything that we have discussed today is clear to you. This is just the first part of the chapter. We have a lot of things left that we need to discuss and study together. So I'll hope to see all of you in our next video, where we will be discussing the later half of the chapter and all the topics that are there. So hope to see you soon, and I hope today you understood everything. Thank you.